Mr. Romanto.
Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to another all-new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Today, we have three spectacular guests. First, we'll be joined by actor Carl Lumbly, talking all about his incredible roles he's played and his thoughts on a Justice League reunion. We'll then chat with Ross Marquand and Chris Sullivan. All that and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And our first show of the new year. We're very excited to be back, and we've got some great guests. Let's get right to it. We're joined now by an incredible actor. You know his voiceover work. You know him from the TV and movies he's been in. We're joined now by Carl Lumbly. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you, James?
Doing well. Thank you so much. This is exciting for me, particularly because you are the last of the 7 of the Justice League members who I've had on my show. So I've now completed my set.
Oh, my goodness. John Jones is the final one. Okay.
That's
good.
right. And in fact, I was chatting back and forth with Susan Eisenberg today, and Susan said to be sure to give you her love.
Oh, my goodness. Lovely Susan Eisenberg. Please, if and when you speak with her, please return it. She's quite wonderful. Truly a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that she is. Yes. And starting out, just let's go ahead and start there for a moment. With the Justice League, the animated series, it was such a beloved series. Andrea Romano, the genius casting director and voice director behind that series.
Yes.
Describe a little bit about, I guess, how you went into the audition and how how you found John Jones's voice.
What I remember of the audition process is it was fairly standard. What was singular was the way in which I remember being directed. That I felt very much like I was on a stage in a theater, mm-hmm. and that what Andrea was going for was, nuances of character and depth, which is you're not always called upon when you do a voice, but which I loved I loved the challenge of it, and I loved the idea of it. It seemed to me that there was something at base that was going to be serious about this, even though it is, a cartoon. And certainly I would say the stories that we did were worthy of any genre, theater, film, TV, stage. It was centered in character and relationships between character and truth of relationships. So that was a joy. As for doing the Martian character, I loved the idea of playing a character who could discorporate, who could be there or not be there, who could be in other people's minds, and who was decidedly off-planet. Mm-hmm. I have, in my own life, it has been suggested to me that I'm a little bit off-planet myself. So I suppose I felt at home in an interesting way. And then, I'm the son of immigrants from Jamaica. So I think that there is something that immigrants have in common. Having left a home or being informed of a home that is very different from the place where you've landed, but having to adapt, adjust, and learn a way to be at home in a foreign setting or a foreign land. And Lord knows Mars is as foreign as you can get when you talk about Earth. So
Sure.
I think that was the idea that this was a character who at the same time has any number of superpowers. The greatest superpower he has developed is his own education in terms of learning where he is and who he's dealing with. Love to that.
Yeah. And it's with you mentioned the whole thing with being displaced and being an immigrant. It's more timely now than it ever has been.
Yes, and and again, I think Justice League was a tremendous example of the contributions that are made, especially because of the perspectives. People who come from another place, may have a greater appreciation for a certain set of freedoms, but they might also have a more informed perspective on those things that may not be working. Mm-hmm. And the idea of coalition and the idea of working together to make for a greater good is more important, I think, to people who feel they're on the outside.
And I know you're not. You have a Twitter account, but you're not on Twitter very often. But the hashtag JLReunion, people who want to have the original 7 come back. We actually had Andrea Romano on my show say that she would come out of retirement to direct a Justice League movie. Everyone else, from Michael Rosenbaum to Kevin Conroy, said they'd do it in a heartbeat. Was that something you'd be up for?
Yes, and I would say that's probably the only reunion series that I would give strong consideration to. I normally like to see things in my rear view stay in my rear view, but for that gathering and for this project, I would happily come take part.
Well, you've just made a lot of people very happy by saying that, so thank you so much.
Yes, and who knows, I mean, I will also say that no matter what takes place, the memory of those years, those sessions, those wonderful scripts, and working with that great group of people and Andrea, will always remain with me. There are various moments that I think of so fondly. So, yeah, it would be great if it happened, but I've got the treasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get to kind of, in a way, revisit that Martian lifestyle on Supergirl. It's been fantastic. It was one of the biggest Easter eggs to have you show up as Martian Manhunter's father. That was brilliant on Warner Brothers' part to get you back for that. Did it take much convincing to draw you in?
No. When the idea was presented to me, I got a big kick out of it. The idea of going live action to play my character's father, and then this amazing actor David Harewood, who's playing John Jones on Supergirl. I have just so much respect for and admiration, and we have developed a wonderful friendship. So, the Easter egg goes both ways, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And then recently, this season, you got to reunite with your Justice League co-star Phil Lamar playing
another son.
Yeah, that's crazy. I love it.
Yes, I know. Absolutely wonderful. Phil and I were laughing and talking about it just recently when we happened to get together in an episode of Young Justice, and so it's been quite wonderful. This Martian role in its many iterations has been a thing of joy for me, each and every one.
And you've done so much work, very, very perfectly almost balanced between the voiceover work you've done for video games like BioShock 2, Diablo 3, and the voiceover work for TV series like Black Panther and Batman Brave and the Bold. But you do so much live action work as well on TV and film. Dr. Sleep was fantastic. And then you still do stage work. So that's got to be nice to be able to successfully do all three. It almost seems like you're simultaneously juggling the projects, which is great.
Well, I think, especially as I move along in my career, it's good to keep my mind active. And stage is where it all started for me. And I think all of it has something in common. I use the same process to go after character, no matter what the genre. And I think the work ethic that I learned doing stage has served me very well. And then I enjoy that collaborative experience, the idea of this work being an opportunity to exercise your craft in connection, and in being a part of something that tells a broad story. We all have our individual stories that we hang on to, and Lord knows that's important. But I think our stories really begin to create resonance when they bounce off one another. So from Justice League to Alias to all of those wonderful video games, it's always about this idea of connection. You're separated from home and trying to get home. You're separated from friends or family and trying to make friends and family where you are. You're separated from certain ideas maybe about who you are and why you are, and you're trying to get answers. So I've been extraordinarily fortunate, and the only wood I have to knock on is my own head right now, but I'm knocking that this good fortune continues.
And the reason I reached out is because I saw you were one of the honorees at the upcoming Dangerman Hero Awards, with some great people like, in memoriam, we're honoring, the Honorable Elijah Cummings. And of course, Simone Missick, fantastic actress who's an all rise right now. Describe a little bit about, when you're given an award, is it a little, what are your feelings? Is it kind of like, oh, I shouldn't, I don't deserve this, or yes, this is great, I'm being recognized? Where does the feelings come in for you on the awards you get?
We're going to come right back and find out just how Carl Lumbly feels all about awards right after this. Stand by.
Hi, this is James Enstall, host of Geek to Me Radio, and in honor of my favorite Themyscirian, I've decided to become an Amazon warrior.
Hera, give me strength.
The next time you want to buy something from Amazon, go to geektomeradio.com first and click on our Amazon affiliate link. Simply shop like you normally would, and when you check out, a small percentage will go towards supporting the show. So remember, the next time you want to search Amazon for the latest Wonder Woman graphic novel or parts for your invisible jet, click through from geektomeradio.com first.
The world was in peril. Would you have me stand by and do nothing?
Hi, this is Andrea Romano. I happen to be the voice director for many animated series, including the Justice League. You are listening on Geek to Me Radio.
And we're back. This segment, the show itself, wouldn't be possible without the support of the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You can check them out on their website at discoverstcharles.com. That's discoverstcharles.com for the website. We just finished the 45th year of Christmas traditions down there, and it was a lot of fun. Huge crowds, record turnouts. Many of the businesses reported that they broke records with the amount of tourists who came from literally all over the world to partake in this festival that is truly a Christmas tradition for many people. A lot of people make it part of their holiday plans. They come down knowing they're going to find a shop down there that has something that they need for a family member or something that their family member loves that they can only get down there. They come down knowing they're going to interact with these great characters like Christkind or Bob Cratchit or Ebenezer Scrooge or the French Father Christmas, Père Noël. They come down for the ambiance of just strolling along the shopping of the little cobblestone streets and the old original buildings. Fantastic places you really won't see nearly anywhere else. It's a great environment. Christmas always is a great time to go visit St. Charles, but there's never a bad time either. You can check it out, plan your trip, see photos of what you missed out on this year, plan on coming next year for Christmas traditions. And you can do all that from the website, St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau's main website, discoverstcharles.com. I'm very proud to be associated with them, and I'm very proud that they are the premier sponsor of Geek to Me Radio. So do me a favor, check them out. If you're in the greater St. Louis area, go down there, shop, dine, have fun. If you're not in the greater St. Louis area, plan to come and check it out. You can do all that from the website, discoverstcharles.com. Right before we went to break, we were talking with actor Carl Lumbly, and with his upcoming award, I asked him how he feels about awards.
Well, I've had to make, I was going to say make peace, but that sounds as if I feel awards are pejorative, and I don't. It's wonderful to be appreciated. And whether that appreciation takes the form of the applause of an audience or, the good feelings of a director or your fellow castmates or an organization that sees something special in what you did and wants to let you know that they saw it. I think the idea of awarding is very nice. I think ideally there should be an award for everyone. It's I don't know that there's a that I agree with the idea of a best of, but I do think that it feels nice to be recognized for doing what you do. And I was particularly tickled because, this Dangerman Hero Award was started by an individual, and I'm receiving my Dangerman Hero Award because of the individual I played, Mantis, who was basically a man who had his superpower was his mind and his will. And after having been badly wounded and put in a wheelchair, he directed himself towards not only developing something that would allow him and then others to walk, but also to dedicate himself to eradicating gun violence. And he would not kill. He would only paralyze when he went after criminals. So, the idea, especially as you say, some of these things have resonances that ring so true today. I like the idea that Roger Tinsley, the Dangerman hero himself, literally just wants to spread the idea of doing good in community, sponsors a number of community projects, and is awarding to people he feels or entities he feels speak to community. And so I'm quite gratified by that.
Absolutely. And we'll have, for those of you who are listening, we'll have a link to the Dangerman Hero Awards website in the program, so you can click on that and check out what they do, because it's really a fantastic thing with their protecting, promoting, providing, all the stuff they do there in LA. It's great.
And I think he's been doing it 21 years, and I believe he began giving out awards 4 years ago. So I'm most appreciative.
And we took a couple questions from Twitter, people who I'd said I was going to interview, and everyone was very excited. We have a user at Brian C. Bear wanted to know. He said he'd love to hear about the filming of Dr. Sleep, which is still in some theaters. He was wondering how much leeway you were given for your own interpretation of the character, as opposed to recreating Scatman Crothers' take on the character.
I was given tremendous leeway. I think the only parameters really were I was bounded by the wardrobe, and that is perhaps not my favorite style. I'm sure Scatman was quite happy with it and looked good on him. But other than that, Mike, the director, allowed me complete leeway. I was guided I would say, completely by the characterization that Stephen King wrote. Dick Halloran in both books, both in The Shining and in Dr. Sleep, is quite a wonderful character, and of course he has lived with this gift, The Shining, for his entire life. And so the idea of imparting the knowledge of both the benefits of the gift and the liabilities of the gift to first young Danny in The Shining, and then to grown Danny in Dr. Sleep. I felt like it was important to maintain the continuity, and Scatman, I thought, did a great job of inhabiting Dick Halloran from The Shining, and I felt good about what I did inhabiting him in Dr. Sleep. It's kind of like, Scatman did the character first, and so the suit was tailored for him. And then in picking up the character, I had some alterations done, and I think it fit.
Yeah, it was well received. A lot of people raved about that movie. So kudos to you and Ewan McGregor and everyone involved.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I most enjoyed seeing it. I actually rate Mike quite a bit. Mike Flanagan, the director, for I think doing a beautiful job, not only of honoring what Stephen King had to say in Dr. Sleep, but also sort of bringing the two films together. They're very, very different ideas, and I think where Dr. Shining was just, pick you up out of your skin, frightening.
Yeah. I
think Dr. Sleep is much more thought-provoking and ultimately positive. So yeah, I was happy to be a part of it.
And you've been a part of so many iconic TV shows, too, going all the way back, like TV shows like Taxi, The Jeffersons, Lou Grant, Cagney and Lacey, L.A. Law, and then, of course, Alias and Mantis. My wife is a huge Alias fan, and I told her I'd be speaking with you, and she gave a little yell. So, but it was such a fun cast. I mean,
yes.
The role you got to play was so intense.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about just your TV career in general. Do you have a couple of favorite roles that you had throughout the years? Is that too hard to narrow it down? It's a common question for actors, but I'm always curious, what is your favorite role? We're going to find out that answer from actor Carl Lumbly right after this. Stand by.
Hi, everybody. This is Maria Canals Barrera. I voice Talk Girl on the Justice League, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
And we're back. Carl Lumbly has been someone I've wanted to have on the show since I started the show, honestly. Huge fan of his from his many roles, and obviously one of the only members of the only member of the 7 original Justice League members who I haven't had on the air, so I was beside myself with excitement when I found out I was going to actually get him on the show. And so while we were talking, I asked him what his very favorite role was.
Well, I very much liked Dixon in Alias. It's hard to narrow down one because I only have one child, but if I had more than one, I wouldn't say. There's something specific that you love about each thing you do. But Dixon I really liked because I thought he was, there was something that was selfless that I really appreciated. Again, there for the team.
Yeah.
And also, to the degree that he would admit it, a feminist, quite thrilled by this notion of Sydney Bristow and her brashness and her knowledge and confidence in the fact that she had agency and would have it no matter what her gender. I think he was tickled by that. His generation of man needed to learn to see and appreciate that. And so I very much like that. I was raised with 3 sisters, so I came by this information quite naturally.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, yes. I also, they used to do these things called movies of the week. And I had an opportunity to do a few different ones for the Disney Channel and TNT. But one in particular that I did for the Disney Channel was called Night Job. And it was, never say never. I think early on in my career, at some point, I said the one thing I would never do is play a slave. And of course, Night John was a slave. A slave who literally had escaped and freed himself, run to the north, and then returned to the South, re-enlisted, or enlisted for the first time in slavery, because he wanted to teach. And he was part of the tradition of the slave schools that were generally held at night in a pit out in the woods, because, of course, slavery being what it was, plantation masters had rules about never educating the slaves, and you could be killed for doing it. But education being the key to freedom, he returned and helped a young girl who in turn helped an entire community of slaves in this particular story. And that's one of my that's one of my prouder moments. It was beautifully directed by a director named Charles Burnett, and I really rate the Disney company for having done it. Very, very proud moment for me.
That's one I've not seen, but with all the streaming service now on the new Disney Plus, maybe that'll be one that they end up putting up with some of the other Disney movies. That'd be great to see that.
Yeah, it's called Night John, one word, and it's pretty amazing. Again, another selfless character. Again, another young woman, much younger woman with agency. So maybe there's a pattern that I'm only now seeing.
You seem to play a lot of very forthright, very selfless characters. I'm not sure if that must be typecasting. That's why you're getting a Dangerman Hero Award.
Okay. I suppose I can't really say that myself.
Right. I'm saying
I don't feel that I'm necessarily selfless. In fact, I feel like I care quite a bit about myself as a representative of not only black men, but actors, artists, people, fathers, husbands, and you never know what role you're going to get. But my rule is always that I have to find a way to love any character I play, and characters can wind up in any kind of circumstance, but I still have to believe that they're otherwise good people, perhaps in tough circumstances, or who've made a bad decision, and I certainly wouldn't want to be judged by the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Sure.
So you make the best of what you have, and I think that's what I believe is possible in every character, that no matter how bad they are, they still carry a human spirit inside, and there's redemption for all of us.
Amen. And then shifting gears a little bit once again, talking about the stage work, I know you came up, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was both of your debuts in Escape from Alcatraz, both you and Danny Glover. And you've remained great friends, and you've even gotten to do shows together, and I think you were even in one a couple of years back that he directed. That's got to be a great feeling for someone as an actor such as yourself, loves the theater, you're doing these plays, and then you're getting to do them with your best friend. That's got to be amazing.
It really is, and I'm honored to have maintained my friendship with that. Not only an amazing friend, but incredible actor and unbelievable statesman. And he's directed me a couple of times in different projects. But what we did on stage a couple of years ago was a reprise of a play that we actually started together. We did 2 plays when we first started. One called Sizwe Banzi is Dead, which was a South African play by a writer named Athol Fugard, and another play called The Island. So a couple of years ago, for as a benefit, we did a reading of The Island is the two-character play about these two men in prison on Robben Island, which was a place where South Africa used to send its black political prisoners. And it was because there was a span of some 30 years in between the two productions. It was just a really, really joyous experience. I think both Danny and I like to work hard, and we also have always had, but have, of course, through the years developed a tremendous connection. And those kinds of things, they show, and they inform the kind of work you can do together. In that kind of an instance, yourself kind of disappears and the characters really get a chance to dance together.
That's fantastic. And it's got to, like I said, be so rewarding with someone you know that well, and just the trust that you have between actors anyway, but then to have that on a personal level, that's even more rewarding, I would think.
Yes, it really is. As I say, I've been pretty lucky in all of this. I didn't. This was not what I expected I would do with my life, but I fooled around and fell into something that I wouldn't trade for anything.
And there's so many of us who are glad you did and that you feel that way, because we love continuing to see you.
Well, thank you, James. I'm going to try and hang on.
Good. I just have one last question for you. I know we just, I guess 2 years ago, they had a big Justice League reunion in Denver, Colorado for their Comic-Con, and we missed seeing you, unfortunately. You were at New York Comic-Con. Do you have any upcoming plans to do a few con appearances? Because now there's a lot of fans out there who would love to actually meet you.
At this moment, I don't have. I don't have plans to do Comic-Cons. I think it's certainly a possibility as time moves forward. It's wonderful to meet the fans. It's actually a little overwhelming for me. I have not done very many of them, so I don't know how good at them I am. So I don't know if I can find a tutorial or work with a coach. But if I can improve, maybe I'll try and get to. I'll try and get to some more of them.
Yeah, no, Susan Eisenberg and George Newbern, I think Andrea Romano now, they use a company called Celebworks, and I know Michael Rosenbaum's been doing a lot more, so I think the four of them would be glad to help you out if you needed some pointers.
Yes. Well, I think if maybe I could steal a bit of personality from each one of them, I would do well. Yeah, it is definitely something that I will give some consideration to. But as long as I have an opportunity here, I would like to thank, from the bottom of my heart, all of the fans of these projects and of we individuals who have given ourselves away to this endeavor, this acting thing that we do. You can never really know how much it means to be appreciated. And so getting an award is really very nice, but I would say nothing really compares to hearing from the individuals who are touched, moved, entertained by the work we do.
Well, I think all three of those definitely apply to me. I've been touched, moved, and entertained by your work, sir, and very appreciative of your time today. I don't want to take up too much more of it. Do you have any other projects, or are you active on any kind of social media where people can find you?
I am. I have a presence on Facebook. I have a quite incredible publicist who helps me with that. I show up from time to time to check it, but I still read books, James.
Good for you. Don't stop. That's great. Well, no, that's perfect. We look forward to seeing you. Like I said, hopefully you'll do some conventions coming up, and we'll continue to watch for you. Congratulations again on your Dangerman Hero Award. Carl Lumbly, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, sir.
Thank you, James. You too. Bye-bye, man.
My thanks once again to Carl Lumbly. Huge fan. Hopefully we can start getting him to more conventions. I'd love to see him out. I know you, the fans, would like to as well. If you are interested in seeing Carl Lumbly, if you would go to a convention, please make sure you tweet at me, retweet this episode once the link goes up in the podcast form. Let me know how much you enjoyed this episode. Let Carl Lumbly know how much you enjoyed hearing from him, and hopefully we can coax him out to a convention or two in 2020. We're going to take our next break, come back with our next guest, talking with Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead right after this. Stand by.
Hi, this is Carl Lumbly, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back. This segment brought to you by Marcus Theaters. Twice in the past couple of weeks, I had the chance to visit a Marcus Theaters, 2 different locations, both times to see Star Wars The Force Awakens, and I loved it. Loved the movie, and of course I loved the experience, the Marcus Theaters experience. They've come in St. Louis, taken over the Warenberg Theaters. They've renovated them head to toe, stem to stern, if you're in the shipbuilding type of analogy you want to make. But they've done a fantastic job between the Dolby sound, between the big DLX reclining heated seats that I just almost could fell asleep in at the DePere location when I saw Force Awakens on New Year's Eve. Just a fantastic experience between the concessions, the friendly staff, the clean restrooms. You don't know how many times I've gone into a movie theater at a different location, and it's just like, wow, no paper towels. Oh, wow, that's a mess. Or, I'm not bashing other movie theaters per se. That's not my intent, but I'm just to say at Marcus Theaters, I haven't had that problem. It's clean, friendly service, great staff, knowledgeable staff. Great concessions. The Take 5 Lounge they have at Ronnie's, they make a mean margarita down there, let me tell you. And just a movie-going experience beyond anything else. It's really, really first class. And as my wife once said, she's not seeing another movie in Coach ever again. So we're Marcus people, and we're very proud to have the Marcus Theaters as a sponsor here with Geek to Me Radio. Bringing you this segment. And my next guest, we got a chance to chat with Mr. Ross Marquand. So we're here talking with Ross Marquand. I'm very excited. You're the voice of Han Solo in
Phineas and
Phineas
Ferb.
and Ferb.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the voice work, you're doing a lot of that. That's got to be a lot of fun to be able to take a break from the live action.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I did also Han Solo for Trials on Tatooine, which is a video game, a VR game. I think it's available on Oculus Rift still. But I mostly did voice work before I got on the show, so anytime I get a chance to go back to that, I did Ultron for the Avengers Damage Control video game recently, and that was awesome. And I'm just hoping to do more of that when I get back to LA, because we just wrapped for the season of The Walking Dead. So season 10 is in the can, and now I'm going to head back to LA in a little bit here and just hit the voiceover world like crazy, because I miss that. I really miss doing cartoon voices and impressions. That was my bread and butter for a long time. And
you just did a very nice Matthew McConaughey a moment ago for a guest who was here.
Oh, yeah.
So who are your go-to, like, these are my best impressions when I do that I'm really...
I think, the walk-in is always a fun one, of course, but I've been really enjoying Jeff Bridges recently.
Just because, he's just the coolest dude, man, he just... Man, he plays his bongos and chills at home, has a white Russian or two, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just, like, that voice, for whatever reason, just, like, came to me one time when I was watching Bad Times at El Royale.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it was great. I watched it earlier this year on a plane, and I realized that the way I think he produces that sound more than anything is just by sliding his jaw over a little bit and going into the back of his throat. And it just clicked. And I was so pleased, because I had been trying it for years and I couldn't do it. And when I finally got off the plane and I was able to talk to myself, because you can't really do that on a plane.
In the back of the Uber,
yeah. People would be like, oh my gosh, what's this guy's deal? But when I finally got a chance to work on it, I was so happy, because there's voices that have been eluding me for years, and that was one of them. Ryan Gosling is at the top of my list. I can't get him down for whatever reason. He's so subtle I want to get him down someday, but it's not there yet. So, yeah.
And the voiceover world, I know we've had Andrea Romano on the show before, who's voice directed a lot of stuff. I love voice actors. What is there someone who you've worked with, you've learned the most from while doing voice work?
Yeah, my buddy J.B. Blanc. Actually, he directed me in this movie called Sheep and Wolves with Tom Felton and Ruby Rose a few years back, and just the technical aspect of delivering lines with different cadence and different flow. That's the best. The most I ever learned from anybody was JB just saying, like, make sure you're finding the levels within each line, because you can get a consistent voice and knock it out of the park technically, but unless you're giving each line different intention and different cadence and flow, it's not going to read, and it's not going to work on, because you don't have the ability to show your face. It's all in the voice, and you really have to make sure that everything is like you're bringing different levels with each line, and that's super important. So
shifting gears to talk Walking Dead, we actually had Kari Payton on the show a little earlier this year.
Cool. And
he was talking about some of the hardest scenes. What has been the hardest scene, either emotionally or just because he was talking about when they ended up killing Shiva, it was hot that day. He said it was a mess. They did a bunch of takes. So either physically hard or emotionally hard for you to do.
The hardest by far was the lineup with Negan in season 7. Like, that was the hardest thing, to just bring that level of sadness and despair each time. It's like bringing that level of despair each take for 8 days in a row on our knees in the cold weather was awful. And it was, we're not losing these friends in real life, but you're losing them on the show, and you're not going to be seeing these people as much anymore. And also the way our makeup team does their, gore, the way they're caved in heads, like, it looks like they are actually dying. And it was physically disgusting to watch that, but also it affected us, I think, on an emotional level. At least it did me. And I think that's some of the best work we've ever done on the show.
And I will say, as a huge Carol fan, I'm always Team Carol, I would argue that you've had probably the most interesting arc since Carol, with the way Aaron has gone from finding this group and then losing the love of your life and everything. It's been a very character-driven couple of seasons for you. So how has that been to get such great scripts? What do you feel is the main challenge in bringing that visceralness to this camera?
It's wonderful. I think it's great that, after 6 years, Aaron has finally left some of that uber nice guy, unflappably kind persona in the back of his mind for a while, because the Whisperers are the craziest threat they've ever faced. And if they're going to actually be able to fight them, he has to kind of become a little bit more of a ruthless fighter and a ruthless leader. And I love that about him, because it's just been so kind for so long, and he's finally being...
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
No more Mr. Nice Guy, exactly.
And my very last question, Avengers Endgame, Infinity War with Red Skull.
Yeah.
Stepping into that role, this huge arc that you've now been kind of brought into, was it intimidating? Was it exciting? What were your feelings getting that?
Yeah, I was extremely intimidated, because that's my childhood. That's my reason for becoming an actor, to a large degree, was X-Men the Animated Series when I was a kid. Watched that and immediately got hooked on Marvel Comics. Bought all the comic book cards and several comic books as well, but I used to draw Red Skull, I used to draw all these characters, and so getting that part was arguably the happiest moment of my life. Seriously.
I bet.
It's like you're playing the thing that you used to draw as a kid. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I was very nervous because I didn't want to mess it up, and I think Hugo Weaving did such a great job in the first Avenger that I was desperate to pay homage to what he had done, but also not mess it up, because you really want to honor that amazing performance that he gave in the first Avenger. Like, I was blown away by how he did that. I thought it was a perfect performance, and I wanted to infuse that character, what he did with that, with a more broken, more sad and forlorn Red Skull that you find in Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah.
I think it would have been an interesting conversation to hear Steve Rogers, as he goes back through time, giving Red Skull back to Soul Gem. That would have been an interesting
I remember
outtake.
you. Yeah.
But it's been great talking to you. We look forward to continued success. Ross Marquand, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Was beyond thrilled to have had the chance to talk with Ross Marquand. Very excited to see Walking Dead when it comes back here just next month. Hard to believe it's already back. We're going to take our last break, come back with a brief interview with This Is Us star Chris Sullivan, also from Taserface from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Stand by.
Hey guys, this is Michael Rooker, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Have a good time.
And we're here in our final segment, going out on a high note, and it's pretty hard to top my last two guests, but someone I was very excited to chat with, even briefly, huge hit on their hands for NBC with This Is Us, Chris Sullivan.
We're here talking with Chris Sullivan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
We see all the love you're getting. People come up here. All the movies, the TV shows. This Is Us has obviously been huge.
Yeah.
Were you expecting it to be as amazing as it's been when you first got into it?
I mean, we knew that the story was a very good story, and we had excellent writers, and Dan Fogelman is a genius storyteller. So we knew we were going to be telling a good story, but we didn't realize that people would connect with it this kind of thoroughly. I mean, everywhere we go, people seem to be able to have some road in through some character, through some storyline, and of course, a lot of these people show up at the conventions. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is what brings me, Taserface brings me into these conventions, and then people are surprised to see Toby here.
Yeah. And I know it's one of those shows that I kind of was like, I'm not going to. My wife's like, it's so good, it makes you cry. I'm like, why would you want to watch a show where you cry every week? But then I watch them like, oh, damn it, now you can't not watch it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes crying is not sad. Sometimes crying is, a necessary release valve. And the show is just reflecting back to people certain things, certain relationship issues, certain life issues that they can relate to, and sometimes you got to let a little steam off, let a couple of tears drop.
And you've done stage work. A lot of actors, that's their first love, even though they've done movies, they've done TV shows like you've done.
Yeah.
Stage work is where the real love. It's an intimate setting.
Yeah.
Do you still have that feeling that stage is your first love of all the projects you've done?
Yeah, there's no better training for an actor than being on stage in an active relationship with another human being in front of an audience of people. So I try to do it as much as I can. Obviously, our television schedule doesn't allow for it as much, but hopefully I'll get to do that over the hiatus.
And all actors have a preference. Comedy, drama, you've done it all. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer the comedy?
Comedy certainly makes for a lighter day at the office, but I like to make sure I'm doing a balance of both. Part of my idea of approaching acting is taking comedy very seriously and taking drama very lightly.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And with obviously This Is Us going on as long as it's going, it doesn't show any signs of stopping. What other projects can people watch for you though coming up in 2020?
Well, I'm currently working on a feature project called Revival with one of the artists here named Tim Seeley.
Okay.
It is a graphic novel series, and we're trying to make it into a feature film with Shatterglass Films out of Illinois. And I'll be playing one of the roles, and we've got a couple other great people attached, and we're going to try and do that in January and February.
Perfect. Well, it's always great to see you. Chris Sullivan, thanks very much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And that's going to do it. My thanks once again to my guests, Carl Lumbly, Ross Marquand, and Chris Sullivan. If you've got a guest you'd like me to try to get, please send me an email, geektomeradio@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show. We always love to hear from listeners. And if there's anything you think I could be doing better and you want to phrase it very constructively so you're not to bruise my delicate ego, that'd be great. My thanks once again to Joey V. Would not have been able to do this last year, certainly not the last couple of months, without him, my executive producer who does everything to make the show sound as good as it does. Thank you again to our sponsors, DiscoverSTCharles.com and MarcusTheaters.com. And of course, make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram at Geek to Me Radio. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Geek to Me Radio. Until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you watch a zombie. It's not in the way you watch The Flash. It's not in the way you love Scotty Young art. It's not in the way you play Mario Kart. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's a show. This is Geek to
Thank you, Mars. Good night.